Oh, say, can you hear?
Yet another red light.
Well, I'm gonna spill all
The secrets you're holding
About the spaceships up there and the aliens down here and all history,
which is totally fake.
Before I started high school there, let's back up now about a year prior. And I remember now I was exactly about 11 years old, okay? So I'm on the high school campus, and I went to the football field, and they call soccer down there football. So I went out there to the field. All of a sudden, I heard a girl to the left of me said to me, "Hi." So I turned around and looked at her, and she couldn't have been any more than probably about 13 or 14 years old. She was about my height. She looks like she was some type of mix with African American, possibly some Asian, possibly some white, and she was very attractive, and I knew that girls like this were not inside my area, and she was talking to me with an American accent, which was really unusual. So she looked at me, she says, "You're going to be going to high school here." So I looked at her and said, "Going to high school here?" I said, "I don't like the way this place looks." I said, "You go to school here?" She goes, "No." So I said to her, "What are you doing down here? Where do you come from?" So she looked at me, she goes, "You have to be very careful." And she pointed over there. She goes, "Bad people live over there and they come over here." And she goes, "You shouldn't walk around here right now, around to the back here." So I looked at her and I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm going to go back up front to talk to my cousin." So she looked at me and she smiled and she walked off. So I walked off. So I decided to go back out there. So I walked all the way to these classrooms way in the back. Right as I left and started walking, I hear her say, "Hi, Mark." So I turn around, I look at her, and I'm just in complete shock. I'm like, where the heck? She just popped out of nowhere just like that. So she looked at me and she said to me, "You need to go back up to the front. This is not a good place." So I stopped and I said, "You're a girl." I said, "You couldn't be any older than 13 or 14. I said, "I can protect myself." I said, "You're a girl. What are you doing back here if it's so dangerous?" She goes, "I know my way around this place." And she started walking toward me, putting her hand like this, like she was like literally hurting me, like pushing me. So she came up to me literally almost like pushing on me now. So I literally started backing up and turned around. So I'm looking over my shoulder while she's talking. She's hurting me, literally pushing me back out, all the way back out to the football field. And she stopped and she looked at me. She goes, "You need to be careful." So I got mad at her now. I looked at her. I said, "Don't tell me what the hell to do. I can do whatever I want to do." She goes, "You need to be careful around this place." Okay, then she just walked off from me and started heading back up front. And I went up there looking for her. I couldn't find her. She was gone. So I went up to my cousin. I said, "This girl came up to me. And she's talking to me. And she's real pretty. Did you see her come back up here?" My cousin goes, "There's no one. The only way to leave the campus is this one entrance, right? There's only one entrance to school." Everybody was up there. They would have seen her. And there was a lot of males on the campus. And she would have gotten their attention. They would have seen her. There's no way she could have walked by without being noticed because of how she had long, straight black hair. She was olive complected. She had brown eyes. I didn't see any anomalies with the eyes. Her eyes look normal, but I realized now that they can make their eyes look normal. But anyway, I believe that this encounter here was the first face-to-face alien contact that I had with a female extraterrestrial. Now, by the time I was about 12 years old, you start high school in that country sooner than you do up here. You start probably around 14 in the US. Down there you start at 12. So after I left this school, I was about 4 o'clock in the evening. So we step off the bus and I just happened to just look over way across in this parking lot. I saw this man looking at me at a distance. He was an African American man looking at me at a distance, but something was different. So I said to my friend, "Why is that guy wearing a lizard mask on his head?" So I'm looking at this guy. So my friend looks at me and goes, "What are you talking about?" So I'm looking at the man, and the man has this, like, there's a lizard. His head looks literally like a lizard, like what UFO researchers or abductees call reptilians. When I look back at it now in my mind, I can see it right here that it was reptilian appearance. And he was walking around and he just looked like he didn't belong there. And my friend is telling me, I don't see anything wrong with the guy, he just has a regular face. And I'm seeing this thing, but he couldn't see what I was seeing. So after that, I went to the school. I never saw anything else at the school campus. I was more concerned about defending myself because I was being beat up and picked on by the older students and things like that. I couldn't defend myself. So I survived that. Then after that, shortly after that, it was time for us to leave the country and come to America. And had we not done that, I don't think I'd be alive right now. We would have been killed because a civil war broke out inside the country.
I think I've had 9 other abduction events. Every one of them when I was driving a car on the interstate somewhere. I think it happened at least once in North Carolina. It's happened a couple of times in Virginia, a couple of times in West Virginia, and a couple of times in Texas. But I've been on an interstate every time it's occurred. One of the first times I was driving from Fayetteville, North Carolina up to Greensboro, driving north on the interstate, and that particular day I didn't stop to get gas, go to the bathroom or anything. I just drove straight. Now I've been driving about 4 hours, and I came to, one of those little green mile markers every mile beside the highway, and all of a sudden I realized that I was heading south and I was 17 miles from where I started. I was almost back to Fayetteville. Well, I never stopped, I never pulled off, but somehow after almost 4 hours I was driving in the wrong direction and 17 miles from where I started. So I think that was the first time that I was abducted while driving by myself on an interstate. On one of the times in Texas, actually it was New Year's Eve, and I was driving from Houston to Austin on Route 290, and it's some divided highway and some 2-lane country type road, and I left Houston like at around 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was going to take 3 or 4 hours to get to Austin. And it appears that somewhere along the route, almost halfway, I didn't even know where I was. And so I turned around and to go back down the road I had come up, and that's when I realized I was actually 40 miles off of 290 toward Dallas, and got back to 290 and continued driving toward Austin. And when I got to Austin, I still had over a quarter of a tank of gas, and normally it would take a full tank. And when I was taken off the road, the car was taken too, because it didn't use all the gas it would normally have taken to drive to Austin. On another totally different trip, 2 or 3 years later, going to Austin also, as I was driving after dark, I became aware that there were headlights coming directly at me, and I had to swerve over to my right real quickly, like to the edge, to get out of the way, and realized I was on the wrong side of the interstate with cars coming toward me going toward Houston. And I was literally on the wrong side of the highway. And I had to back up over 2 miles to get to a place where I could cross back over because there was a fence along the edge. It's not like I just kind of swerved over. And I mean, my car was on the wrong side of the highway. And in that situation, when I got to Austin, I had plenty of gas too. Like the car had been picked up also, and it didn't use any gas.
Say, can you finally
Start telling us the truth.
Protect our civil liberties.